So, Emma, obviously you spoke for us in the first series, and this is why we invited you back from popular demand. It was, very insightful. We got a lot out of it as the people that are obviously hosting this series. So it'd be an amazing experience if you can share some of those insights with us as well, and maybe elaborate on those from the first series. So kind of tell us a little bit about your story and how you started off, if you could.
Sure. So the first thing, just to get it out of the way, the first thing everyone wants to know about me and my business is Tom. Is Tom my husband, my partner? And the answer is no. He's a friend. We met doing swimming lessons when we were 12 years old, and amazingly we're still friends now many years later. I would never have imagined that I would have gone into business with him, but strange things happen. So I guess my story is I really am someone who decided I wanted to have my own business probably on leaving university, but I thought I was clever, and I thought, oh, well, I'll learn on someone else's time and money, and I think it's a good idea to get experience in different facets of business, in marketing, commerce, sales, and so I started off working for a commodity trading company, and I guess I'd always had a great belief in the value of brands, and so when I was thinking about my CV and when I was busily developing myself as a person, I was looking for good brands. So I put Cargill, which was a big multinational car trading company, and then I worked for a Mars Corporation, and then I went to a business school in Europe called INSEAD, so it was all sort of brands trying to get into building my own personal CV and my experience, so trying to learn in different areas.
Mm-hmm. And what age was that, would you say then?
So this was straight after university. So I did Ag Science at Melbourne Uni, which is a very general course. And so I got to, and then I did a little bit of strategy consulting, and then I got to a point where I had finished, I was working as a strategy consultant in London, and a friend of mine who had been at business school came and asked me if I wanted to start a business. And this was my first time to go into business. So this thing of leaving the 9 to 5, I actually was invited out of the 9 to 5, and I accepted the invitation, and I went and worked with this friend of mine. So, I didn't really take the plunge then. And then the second time, so that business, we built it up, we raised a lot of money, but we ran out of the money very quickly, and we had, I think, the right business idea, but the totally wrong capital structure. So we basically were trying to make it a big business very quickly, and the business, which some of you may be familiar with in Australia, called Aconex, was basically the same business we were trying to set up in Australia, in London. That business is now worth $1 billion. We sold out of our business for, I think, about £100,000 or something like that. So it just shows you can have the right idea, but the wrong structure, and you don't succeed. Anyway, after that experience, which was actually was a fine experience, I'm still friends with the 4 people that I was in business with in the UK, which I'm very proud of. And the investors we had, we're still friends with them. I still stay in touch with some of them. And I think that's all worked out well because we communicated well all the way through.
Do you ever kind of leverage some of those connections to get advice still in this current day? Do you ask them for advice on a regular basis, or is that completely separate now, the friendship?
No. I was at my 20-year business school reunion 2 weeks ago, and I spent a lot of time workshopping a lot of things with all of them. So I'm still very much in touch with them.
Yeah, perfect. So obviously moving on from there and talking a little bit more about Emma and Tom's then. So kind of, you've left the 9 to 5, you've experienced a lot of things to do within the business world. How has that equipped you then, and kind of what were the first hurdles going into Emma and Tom's that you had to overcome and making that a success?
So the hurdles, I guess, the first one is actually starting, and that's, in my view, the most difficult thing to do is to start. And the second time I left my job, I was actually booted out of my job, so I was working at the NAB, and my whole team was restructured out, so I was sort of out on the street. And actually, again, the second time, Tom actually appeared from where he'd been in Europe, and he actually again asked me if I wanted to start this business, and he had the idea of a juice business. So again, it wasn't really me starting and leaving the 9 to 5. So I think, I've never had probably the courage to do it, but at the time I just sort of fell into it. But I mean, starting from scratch, I think is really hard. But it's, we went to the market, we bought our fruit juices, we made up our different blends and tested things out, and then I think it was a matter of working out, well, what do we need next? We need bottles, and we need caps, and we need labels, and we need a design of our labels. And each time we'd think about it, and we'd think, well, we need to, what do we do? Who do we speak to? And we'd work it out. And I think that's in business. It's a lot about problem solving, and as we go along now, I mean, still I feel most of my time is problem solving and working solutions to things, and always things are changing. I mean, I think for someone thinking about going into their own business, to me, it's best. I mean, it's good to be very comfortable with change, because change is always going to happen, and things are never going to go according to plan. And I think, this thing of, I've got to have the right idea, I've got to have the perfect idea. I mean, our idea was to have a juice business. We've now moved into a healthy drinks and snacks business. My idea was to never be in distribution. We've now got 40 vans on the road. So
you'd say it's more of a mindset and obviously being adaptable in terms of a skill set. So talking about that skill set and obviously adapting, you guys have you've ventured overseas as well, and is that still part of your role then? Is that obviously exploring those foreign markets? Is that something that you work on today? Yeah,
so I mean, we have a business model which is very much based on relationships, and I think, I mean, maybe it's just the people we are, but we want to do business with people we like, and we really choose people that we like. And so we've sort of fallen into our export markets really just because we've happened to meet people we like. And so we've got a guy in the Middle East, and we've got a whole team in China. And those, as it's turned out, those businesses are all people who are wanting to set up their own new distribution business, which I think works really well, because a new distribution business, they need to have product to sell, and they need to go and get customers. Most distributors, in my experience, really don't do anything. But the other thing is that they need to be very well funded. And actually, our guy in the Middle East is just giving me some grief because I think he's not well funded enough.
Yeah, so that whole ethos of thinking globally and obviously acting locally, and then maybe talking about some of the local suppliers and things like that, the people that you work with in those relationships, not just the customers, but some of those farmers, producers and things like that. How important is it for your brand to work with those people that, I think you're a B Corp company, is that right? So you're registered B Corp, and obviously responsibilities around that for sustainability and things like that. So when you are choosing those people, how much time do you spend on that and those relationships that you're forming, so behind the scenes?
I think we get approached by a lot of different people, and I think the thing is for us to be very clear on what we're trying to do and what's important to us at the moment. So, for example, the other day we've had this charity water which we've done as a collaboration with Cotton On, and we sell it to cafes, and we donate basically the profit from that. So it's about 25 cents a bottle. Anyway, Cotton On decided that we were all too small for them, and they didn't want to do it anymore. So we thought, well, we actually like this. We've got customers that want to buy this product, so we'll do our own. But we then needed to find someone who was a charity to support. So I came across Street, which is which is, I think, is a fantastic organisation. I went and actually through an EO event, and I went and had a chat to Beck, who's the co-founder of that, and she said, "Oh yeah, great idea. All very good. Just one problem: we really don't want to have any plastic in our shop." And so we looked at cartons and other ways of doing it. Anyway, we eventually realised we could do a 100% recycled PET bottle, and she was happy with that because it's saving 82% of the resources that would have been used in a virgin bottle. And so that, I think, it's an example of someone we liked. It's a good relationship, and it was helping us do what we wanted to do, but it's also helping her in what she wants to do and her beliefs. And it comes back to the problem solving as well, doesn't it? So, and then kind of, I think obviously at the start, then maybe I should touch upon this then, but your husband actually works for the company as well. So everybody asks whether Tom is your husband, but your husband works with you. How do you manage those relationships internally? Does that have an effect? Yeah, so I mean, I think for me, working with a partner is pretty difficult. It's hard to leave business at home. The biggest thing that I've learnt in terms of trying to make our relationship at work happy, because he's the sales guy and I'm the CEO, and as typically that is quite a stressful, fraught relationship. The biggest thing I've learnt to do is to moderate my tone of voice, so to be really careful what tone of voice I use when I'm speaking to him, and that certainly has helped, but it's definitely not easy, and I find, one of us might want to talk about work and the other one doesn't, and just leaving it at home at work is for me important, and business is stressful, so there's always ups and downs, but I mean, his skills are really valuable to our business, so we really need to have him in the business. And he's been a key driver in the business, so the good thing is we've managed to stay together as well.
Yeah. And then talking about some of the other employees, so do you have people that have left the 9 to 5, want some flexible working, or do you have conversations with maybe current staff members about leaving that working environment if they come to you and ask for advice? How are those channels within your business, and do you have those types of communication and conversations with your employees?
More we recruit people that looking for part-time jobs. I mean, I found it quite an effective way to bring in really better levels of skill, experience than I could otherwise afford, and there's actually quite a lot of people, often women, looking for part-time work that's actually meaningful and enjoyable. And the great thing that's happened, so I'm basically breaking roles into smaller roles, and then as the business grows, usually they are quite happy to take on more work. So maybe their child's got a bit older or whatever their circumstances often change.
Yeah, perfect. So talking about Emma and Tom's again then in terms of the products, where do you see that going in terms of, obviously you have the drinks, you have the food-based items and what have you, but is that going to be evolving into anything else? Do you see you concentrating, really focusing on that, or developing into any new kind of products?
So we started off as a juice business. Actually, I don't know if you all know our products, but I was going to show you the first product that we basically launched with, which was this product called Green Power. So we started our business with 4 bottles of drink. That was it. And this is still actually one of our best sellers. But we realised after about 4 years that our model of using distributors to build the business really wasn't working. And the reason was we needed to give a better level of service to the customer. And so it meant that we actually needed to start building our product portfolio. And so now we have about 40 different products, and we've got flavoured milks, cold pressed vegetable juices, snack bars. It all looks sort of the same. It's all no added sugar, nothing artificial, but quite different. So we've got bags of nuts and things like this. So I think we've now realised that from a brand point of view, the brand comfortably stretches across healthy drinks and snacks, but I don't see us going into main meals or probably selling vitamins. But this is something we're constantly thinking about. How far should we stretch the brand? Are we selling enough of a particular product to justify still having that product? But I think in the way that the consumer market is changing so quickly, for us having the ability to follow a trend. So kombucha is obviously really big. We have 3 kombucha products. We're quite unusual in a food type or food or drink brand, that most food or drink brands are product focused. So they're a kombucha or they're a milk or they're a muesli bar or whatever.
And then in terms of the competition as well then, so obviously you've got to be quite nimble on your feet and react to certain other products and other brands out there. What would you say are the biggest key things to look out for within your role at this moment in time?
I think a big part of my role is looking at the future and what products we should be selling and what the business should look like in 3 to 5 years' time. I probably should be spending more time on that than I am. I'm still too much day to day.
Okay. Brilliant. A little bit of an issue here, but that's fine. And going back to kind of the moment of obviously realising that Emma and Tom's was obviously doing well and it was obviously getting some traction, and how was it that, did you still have that startup mindset? Were you quite frugal with kind of the things that you were maybe investing in, the staff that you were taking on and things like that? Or were there any moments where you thought, this is great, we're getting carried away? Or did you maybe, were you able to keep a rein on things when things were going well?
I think that's one of the many mistakes that we've made and I do think it's a bit of coming out of big corporate. So Tom and I both had worked in, for large companies. We were both used to having colleagues. We were both used to, having plenty of money to spend. And I think we weren't nearly thrifty enough. We thought we were being thrifty, but we hired people too quickly. You hear so often you should be working on your business, not in the business. But I believe at the start, it's so hard to get money coming in the door. It's so hard to be profitable that we would have been a lot better off if we hadn't hired some of those people, if we'd done more ourselves. And I think we're still getting better at it, but it's hard to make that final profit that ends up in your pocket. Yeah,
and then obviously keeping ahead of trends and obviously educating yourself and the learning that goes on behind the scenes. So you remember the Entrepreneurials organisation as well, and what some of the things you do on a daily basis to maybe develop yourself and to keep on learning.
EO for me has been a fantastic part of it. I think there's a lot of programs and lectures that you go to. I think the Gazelles methodology, which is a company set up by Vern Harnish, who has a book. It's a very, very good book. I think reading a lot has been really valuable. And the other thing, probably just talking to people. Every person I speak to will give me a little bit of information that helps me make better decisions. So, it's very easy to sit at my desk and feel, and be busy, but actually making the effort to get out and talk to people is much more important, I think.
Excellent. Okay, guys, so we're going to leave it there for the fireside chat right now, but we're going to actually invite Emma back up for the Q&A at the end. So hopefully you've got some amazing questions for us, and we will be judging that at the end as well to obviously win the Emma and Tom's snack bag, would you call that? Or what's the exact term for the bag?
A goodie bag.
Goodie bag. Okay, cool. So guys, can we have a round of applause for Emma, please? Thanks very much, Emma.